Eternalism for Beginners, Unit 25, Overview Quiz. Welcome to the Unit 25 Overview Quiz, where we'll take on a controversial bonus question that challenges us to rethink our understanding of the Great Apostasy and the Restoration. We'll explore how many Latter-day Saints view the origins of morality and rights, and how those views may, unknowingly, align more with the Great Apostasy than with the Restoration. We'll also look at how core gospel truths were inverted during the apostasy and reoriented through the Restoration back to their eternal foundation in the primacy of existence. Before the bonus question, let's quickly review the 3 E's of eternalism: eternal laws, eternal truths, and eternal lives, and how they reflect correct belief, metaphysics, correct thinking, epistemology, and correct practice, value ethics. Notice how all 8 primacy issues express reality-based truths rooted in the primacy of existence. Now let's briefly look at what I call the 3 A's of the apostasy: the absolutism of God, faith, and love, set in opposition to the 3 E's of eternalism. These reflect incorrect belief, metaphysics, incorrect thinking, epistemology, and incorrect practice, duty ethics. Notice how all 8 primacy issues are inverted, replacing reality-based truths with faith-based distortions rooted in the primacy of consciousness. With that 2-slide background, we're ready for the bonus question, one that challenges our Latter-day Saint view of the Great Apostasy and the Restoration. The bonus question begins with a simple LDS survey. Survey question number 1. If you asked 100 adult Latter-day Saints, where do morality and rights come from, God, the state, or human nature? What percentage would say God? Choose from 50%, 60%, 70%, or 80% or more. After 20-plus years discussing this with Latter-day Saints, it's safe to assume many of you, like me, would choose 80% or more. This choice would surprise no one. Which leads us to survey question number 2, which asks, if more than 80% of Latter-day Saints were to say that morality and rights come from God, what percentage of that same group do you think would also align with the idea that God has primacy over reality, faith over reason, revelation over observation, others over self, and so on? Would it be 50%, 60%, 70%, or 80% or more again? It likely wouldn't surprise us if 80% or more of those same Latter-day Saints also affirmed each of the 8 gospel primacy issues listed here. But here's the real question. If they were told these positions are foundational to the Great Apostasy, what percentage do you think would reject that claim and double down, still insisting that morality and rights come from God and that God, faith, and revelation rightly hold primacy over reality, reason, and observation? Would it surprise anyone if the percentage stayed at 80% or higher? This then leads us to our final question. Question number 3. What does this doubling down reveal about our Latter-day Saint view of the apostasy and restoration? Doesn't this doubling down reveal a troubling disconnect between the reality-based eternal truths of the Restoration and the faith-based distortions of the Great Apostasy that we, as Latter-day Saints, were meant to leave behind? Consider this response under the general heading of the Great Apostasy and Inversion. Yes, the priesthood was lost, and ordinances were changed during the Great Apostasy. But just as critical was the inversion of reality-based truths, rooted in the primacy of existence, into faith-based distortions, rooted in the primacy of consciousness. To connect the dots between eternal truths, the Great Apostasy, and the Latter-day Restoration, consider this threefold sequence, one that includes the major primacy issues introduced earlier. First, eternal truths are grounded in the eternal worlds and are clearly oriented toward the primacy of existence. These truths were central to Christ's church in the meridian of time, all of which are implicitly, if not explicitly, reflected in the teachings of the New Testament, including those of Christ and his apostles throughout the early church and their travels. Next, the Great Apostasy unfolds, inverting these gospel truths not in alignment with the 5 E's of eternalism and the primacy of existence, but with the 3 A's of apostasy and the primacy of consciousness. So much so, the great apostasy could rightly be called the great inversion of gospel truths. Lastly, the Latter-day Restoration reorients the gospel primacy issues back to the 5 E's of eternalism and the primacy of existence, aligning with Joseph Smith's teaching. I believe that God is eternal, that he had no beginning and can have no end. Eternity means that which is without beginning or end. I believe that the soul is eternal. It had no beginning and can have no end. He contended throughout that everything which had a beginning must have an ending. The same principle applies to the origins of morality and rights. If they are not eternal and reality-based, they will not last. Therefore, morality and rights cannot come from God merely decreeing them into existence, for whatever can be decreed into existence can also be decreed out of existence and is therefore neither grounded in reality nor eternally sound. This ends this Unit 25 overview quiz. Thank you for watching. Join us for Unit 26, where we continue connecting the dots in the practical realm, this time by asking 3 key questions. What? So what? Now what? We'll apply them directly to a man's pursuit of money, women, and power, exposing the moral and philosophical stakes behind each. In the meantime, reflect on this. Anything decreed into existence can be decreed out of existence, including morality and rights.